I overheard my fiancé bragging about cheating and draining my finances, then leaving me. So I left her stranded at the airport. I'm 32, male, and for most of my adult life, I've prided myself on being someone who values honesty and hard work. I've worked my way up in a tech company, saved carefully, and built a stable life. So, when I met my ex-fiancée, who I'll call F, I thought I'd found someone who shared my values. She was charming, smart, and had a confidence that drew me in. But as I later discovered, she also had a darker side, a manipulative streak hidden beneath her polished exterior. We'd been together for 2 years and engaged for 6 months. On the surface, things seemed perfect. We were planning a destination wedding, and I'd taken on the bulk of the financial responsibility. F always had an excuse: student loans, family issues, a temporary gap between jobs. I didn't mind, at least not at first. I loved her, and I wanted to believe we were building a life together. But cracks began to show when I started noticing her priorities seemed more focused on material things than on us. The moment that shattered everything happened just last month. We were set to fly out for a vacation I'd booked, a trip I'd saved up for over a year to afford. I had planned it as a romantic getaway, a chance to spend quality time together before the stress of wedding planning kicked into high gear. The night before our flight, F said she was meeting a friend for drinks to celebrate some good news at her temp job. She asked me to drop her off and said she'd Uber home. I agreed, thinking nothing of it. But as I waited in the car for her to grab her bag, I realized I'd forgotten my phone charger in the living room. When I went back inside, I heard her talking on her phone, laughing in a way that immediately caught my attention. Curious, I paused in the hallway listening. What I heard made my stomach churn. "He's such a sucker," she said, her voice dripping with amusement. "I mean, who pays for everything like this? I haven't spent a dime since we started dating." There was a pause, and I could hear the person on the other end laughing. Then F continued, her tone turning smug. "Oh, it gets better. After the wedding, I'm planning to drain whatever's left of his savings. Then I'm out. I already have someone lined up." I froze. My mind raced, trying to process what I'd just heard. Was this some kind of joke? A misunderstanding? But her words were clear, and the cruel laughter that followed cemented it. She wasn't just using me. She was planning to ruin me. I didn't confront her that night. Instead, I played along, pretending nothing was wrong. I dropped her off at the bar, wished her a good night, and went home to think. Anger bubbled beneath the surface, but I forced myself to stay calm. This wasn't just about a breakup. It was about protecting myself and making sure she couldn't get away with what she was planning. By the time she came home, I had a plan. The next morning, I acted like everything was normal. F was all smiles, completely oblivious to the storm brewing in my mind. We packed our bags, got in the car, and headed to the airport for our flight. She spent most of the drive scrolling through her phone, occasionally showing me pictures of things she wanted to buy on our trip: designer handbags, shoes, spa packages. Each item felt like a slap, a reminder of her true intentions. At the airport, I continued to play my part. I checked us in, carried her bags, and even bought her coffee while we waited at the gate. F was in her element, chatting excitedly about the trip and making plans for all the things she wanted to do. Meanwhile, I was watching, listening, and waiting for the right moment. As our boarding group was called, I made my move. "Hey," I said, stopping her just before we got in line. "I forgot something in the car. Can you hold on to my boarding pass? I'll be right back." She frowned but nodded. "Don't take too long. We don't want to miss the flight." I handed her my boarding pass and walked away, heading not toward the parking lot, but toward the exit. I could feel the adrenaline kicking in as I left the terminal and hailed a cab back home. She had no idea I wasn't coming back. By the time F realized I wasn't on the flight, I was already back at our apartment, packing her belongings. She started calling and texting frantically, but I ignored every message. Her texts escalated quickly, from confusion to anger to outright panic. "Where are you? We're about to take off. This isn't funny. Get back here now. If you don't show up, I swear." I didn't respond. Instead, I focused on clearing out everything that belonged to her. Clothes, shoes, makeup, even the gifts I'd bought her. All of it went into boxes. I called a locksmith to change the locks and left her things in the lobby with a note. I know everything. Your things are downstairs. Don't contact me. The fallout was swift. Within hours, my phone was flooded with voicemails. F went from angry to desperate, alternating between blaming me for ruining everything and begging me to forgive her. It was a joke, she insisted in one voicemail. I didn't mean any of it. Please, let's talk. But it wasn't a joke, and we both knew it. The entitlement, the manipulation, the outright betrayal. It had been real, and there was no coming back from that. I wasn't content to just leave things at that, though. I wanted to make sure F couldn't twist the narrative or play the victim. So, I reached out to a few mutual friends, explaining what had happened and sharing the recording I'd made of her phone call. Yes, I'd recorded it. After overhearing her that night, I knew I needed proof in case things got messy. The reaction from our friends was unanimous: shock and disgust. People who had once admired F for her charm and confidence now saw her for what she really was: a selfish, manipulative person who had no problem. The next few days were chaotic. F ramped up her attempts to contact me, switching between pleading and threatening. "You can't just throw me out like this," one message read. "I'll tell everyone you're abusive if you don't let me back in." That one made me laugh. The irony of her trying to manipulate me even after being caught red-handed wasn't lost on me. But I wasn't worried. I had the recording, the texts, and the unwavering support of my friends to back me up. If she wanted to try and tarnish my reputation, she'd only end up exposing herself. Still, I wanted to make sure she couldn't cause any more trouble. So, I reached out to my lawyer to formally sever any financial ties we might have shared. Luckily, we hadn't combined accounts or signed any contracts together, but I had been paying for her phone plan and a few subscription services. I canceled everything immediately. I also reached out to the landlord of her previous apartment, which I'd helped her cover rent for when she'd fallen on hard times. The landlord confirmed what I'd suspected. She had been late on rent several times before we started dating, and I had essentially saved her from eviction. It was yet another example of how I had been used. F's attempts to reconcile grew more desperate as time went on. She showed up at my office one day, waiting for me in the parking lot. When I saw her standing by my car, I almost turned around and walked back inside. But I decided it was better to confront her directly. "What do you want, F?" I asked, keeping my voice steady. She looked at me with tears in her eyes, but I wasn't buying the act. "Please, just hear me out," she said. I didn't mean what I said that night. I was drunk, and I was venting. "I love you. You know I do." I crossed my arms. "Drunk or not, you don't say things like that unless there's some truth to them. You plan to take advantage of me, F." I overheard it. "I have proof. There's nothing you can say that'll make me forget that." Her expression shifted, the tears replaced by frustration. "So you're really going to throw everything away? Over one mistake?" "One mistake," I repeated, my voice rising. "You were bragging about cheating on me and draining my bank account. That's not a mistake. That's who you are." She stared at me, stunned into silence. For a moment, I thought she might apologize, but instead she muttered, "You'll regret this," and stormed off. After that encounter, I changed my phone number and made sure she couldn't contact me through any other means. I blocked her on social media, informed mutual acquaintances that I wanted no further communication with her, and focused on moving forward. The days following F's departure were some of the most liberating I'd experienced in years. Without her constant demands and manipulation, I felt a weight lift off my shoulders. My friends rallied around me, helping me navigate the emotional fallout, and even encouraging me to celebrate the fact that I'd dodged a major bullet. But F wasn't done yet. About a week later, one of our mutual friends told me that F had started spreading rumors about me, claiming I was controlling and that I'd abandoned her without warning. I couldn't say I was surprised, but I wasn't about to let her rewrite the narrative. I decided to share the recording of her phone call with a few trusted friends, ensuring that the truth got out. Once people heard her bragging about using me for my money and planning to leave after draining my savings, any sympathy they might have had for her evaporated. The rumors stopped almost overnight, and F found herself isolated from the social circle she'd once relied on. The most satisfying moment came when I heard through the grapevine that F's new plan had backfired. Apparently, someone else she had lined up, the person she'd mentioned in her phone call, wanted nothing to do with her once they learned what she'd done to me. It turns out most people don't want to be with someone who openly admits to being a manipulative user. Meanwhile, I focused on rebuilding my life. I poured myself into work, picked up a few hobbies I'd neglected during my time with F, and even started planning a solo trip to the destination we were supposed to visit together. It felt like reclaiming my independence and proving to myself that I didn't need anyone who didn't value me. F tried to contact me one last time, sending an email filled with excuses and half-hearted apologies. She claimed she'd been going through a lot and that her words hadn't been meant to hurt me. She begged me to meet with her so we could start fresh. I didn't reply. Some doors are better left closed. Looking back, I'm grateful for what happened. It was painful, yes, but it taught me an invaluable lesson about boundaries, self-respect, and recognizing red flags. F's betrayal was a harsh wake-up call, but it ultimately set me free from a relationship that was never built on trust or love. To anyone reading this who's ever been in a similar situation, don't ignore the signs. Trust your instincts, stand up for yourself, and remember that it's better to walk away than to stay with someone who doesn't value you. And if you enjoyed this tale of karmic justice, hit that subscribe button, because sometimes the best revenge is simply moving on.